Buenos días, buenas tardes, boa tarde, boa noite, good morning, good afternoon, maybe good evening if you are in Europe. This is a special type of home office hours that's designed to reach people in Latin America and the Iberian Peninsula, so that we get more connected to people who follow what we do there and who are interested in interacting with our experts. The goal is to bring you the Oracle development experts directly so you can talk to them, ask your questions. Because of that, it's impractical to get all our speakers or even a fraction of our speakers to speak Spanish or Portuguese, but we are going to do the next best thing, which is if you have a question and you want to ask it in Spanish or in Portuguese, I will translate it for the experts, and if you need clarification, I will also translate that for you. El objetivo de estas sesiones es acercar a la gente de desarrollo de Oracle a Latinoamérica y a la península ibérica, y dar una oportunidad de comunicarse directamente con nuestros expertos, no con la gente que trabaja creando el producto directamente. Claramente no conseguimos que nuestros expertos hablen en español o en portugués, pero les pedimos que participen con la ayuda nuestra. En este caso hoy además tengo a Clarisa para ayudar, de modo que podamos aceptar preguntas en portugués y en español si fuera necesario, y por supuesto clarificar las respuestas traduciéndolas al portugués y al español si fuera necesario. La experiencia es que en general la gente que usa nuestros productos puede entender perfectamente, pero a veces le gusta preguntar en su idioma para preguntar algo complicado. Bom dia, boa tarde, boa noite, se vocês estiverem em Portugal. Bem-vindos a Astom para Latinoamérica e a Iberia. O propósito dessas horas de consulta é fornecer a presença dos expertos da Oracle de desenvolvimento diretamente para o pessoal em Latinoamérica e na Iberia. Se bem eles, a maioria deles não, infelizmente, falam português ou espanhol, pelo menos temos os expertos diretamente e conseguimos aceitar perguntas em português ou espanhol. Eu posso traduzi-las se tiver uma pergunta complexa que vocês preferirem formular em português, por exemplo. E também, se precisar uma tradução de algum conceito, alguma coisa que ficar complicada, eu posso ajudar com isso. Bom, passo a nossos expertos. Hoje temos os expertos anunciados, Marc Swetz e David Peake. Temos também Joel Kallman, que vai começar com a apresentação breve. E temos a Clarisa, com um nome muito comprido, que não trabalha para a Oracle. Ela é uma pessoa da comunidade Apex que convidamos para fazer perguntas. Temos a Clarisa invitada para hacer preguntas, porque es de la comunidad de Apex, para dar el ejemplo de que queremos que las preguntas y la gente que participe venga de fuera de la compañía y podamos tener una conversación con ustedes. So, we have David and Marc as announced, and Joel, who will start the presentation, and Clarisa, who is not an Oracle person, but rather a person from the community, from Latin America, who will be asking some questions, and of course we encourage you all to ask questions. I will be watching chat. We will all be watching chat except whoever is speaking, and you can ask questions there, or you can ask questions as soon as the short presentation is finished. With that, Joel, please, go ahead.
Okay, can you hear me okay, Cris?
Yes.
Okay, great, thanks. All right, thanks for inviting us to this. We're actually quite honored to be here, and quite honored to be here with Clarisa as well. And while today is going to be largely question and answer in the hopefully rare event that people don't know what Apex is, I just want to give just a very short overview of Apex and where we've seen Apex in Latin America, okay? Well, let's hope that this works. There we go. So Apex is a framework to build web applications with the Oracle database. It's really that simple. You don't have to be an expert in HTML or CSS or even the database to build very scalable, beautiful applications. And if you have one takeaway from today, if you have to leave early, just remember everything we talk about today, you can go find out more information and even try Apex for free at apex.oracle.com. Okay? So Apex ultimately is Oracle's low-code application development environment framework that's part of the Oracle database. There is no additional cost for Apex. It's a feature of the database, just like SQL is. And you can build applications on Apex wherever there's an Oracle database, from your laptop to large multi-node clusters to any cloud vendor, including Oracle, where they provide an Oracle database. It's very easy to build applications that let you maintain data, visualize data. It's very commonly used for back office business applications, but more and more we see it used to modernize legacy applications, maybe from Forms or Microsoft Access, or taking a spreadsheet and converting it to a multi-user application. And unlike some other frameworks out there where they try to abstract themselves from the database, we embrace SQL. Mark and David and I and the Apex team, we are part of the Oracle Database division, and we view the Oracle Database as a very rich, powerful application development environment, and we enable people to get great use out of the Oracle Database. Apex has been around a long time. It's something that we started back in 1999, and it was first shipped in HTML DB 1.5 in 2004. And just so you know, unlike a lot of very popular frameworks, and it seems even in our industry, what's popular today may not be popular tomorrow. And in the case of Apex, we very much value and focus on maintainability and upgradability of applications. And I think it is unique in the industry that you can take an application that was developed back in, let's say, 2007 or 2008 and import it into Apex today, and you get all the rich benefits of everything we've added to the Apex framework, from security to accessibility to performance, but yet your application is going to look and feel exactly like it did back in 2008. And so upgradability and maintainability is very important to business customers, and it's something which is paramount to us on the Apex team. As far as Apex in Latin America, this is honestly one of my favorite pictures of all time. This is Jesus and his dog Madonna, and he attended a presentation we gave in Medellin, Colombia, and we gave him an Apex sticker, and he put it on his car. And I don't know why, I'm a fan of Jesus and his dog. He was so proud that he's very proud of his dog Madonna, and took a picture of both of them. So where have we been in Latin America? There was an Apex tour, and then last year, Marc Swetz on our team went on a combined OTN tour. But we've been to Colombia, and there's a growing community there. We were in Quito, Ecuador, where Apex is widely used. Apex is very widely used in Brasilia by the government and other commercial institutions. David and I, when we were in Paraguay, we had a big outpouring of customers wanting to learn more about Apex, and I know of a couple new consulting companies that have started in Asunción for expressly this purpose, to build solutions with Apex in the Oracle database. And we have partners and many customers in Argentina. And we are so popular in Latin America. And I guess the one point that I didn't convey is Apex is widely used throughout Oracle itself. And Oracle is a business, just like any other business, right? We have marketing, we have sales, we have human resources and finance and legal and on and on and on. And Apex is used for thousands of applications inside the company. And there are so many organizations that need help, or they want to build new applications, and maybe they're a business user and they want to extend the functionality of it and they need some expert help. We're a product development team and we cannot do this ourselves. So fortunately, this gentleman on the right of the picture here, Ivo Ronzoni, he manages a team out of Argentina, out of Buenos Aires, and he's responsible for the Apex portion of our Oracle Latin America Services Delivery Center. And so he has a team of 22 people where that's all they do is they help build internal solutions for other organizations, other lines of business within Oracle. And I've known Ivo and many of his team members for at least 10 years, and it's fascinating to see how much they've grown. As Apex has grown inside Oracle, so has their great organization. Okay, and I promise I'm not going to PowerPoint people to death. We're very grateful for Cris to invite us to this office hours session. Just so you understand, there are a number of office hours webinars by various product management teams within the database division. And the Apex team, we have our own as well, which we run usually every couple weeks, certainly once a month. And if you scan that QR code or look at the URL down there, we have recorded our Apex office hours, okay? Also, we make for free the Apex curriculum. So if you are somebody who wants to educate someone on Apex, or you're a university and you want to provide training for your students, we provide free with a completely permissive use license our Apex curriculum, and you can download it off of GitHub. Oh, and I should say that this is in the process of being upgraded to the latest version of Apex, should be out within the next month, okay? In December of last year, Oracle released the Apex certification exam, and someone can take this exam and get the Apex certification certificate. It's something very useful for students and professionals to have on their resume. On March 29th of this year, we released Apex 19.1, and if you go out to apex.oracle.com, you can sign up for a workspace and kick the tires. And there's a number of new features we introduced. I list these here. Our team is very proud of the new dark mode that's available in the application express development environment. And you'll find that data loading as well has been extraordinarily simplified and expanded. Before, it was quite constrained with what you could do, right? You could upload a CSV file. You can never really do native Excel. Now you can just drag and drop, unlimited number of rows, and away you go. There is a consultant, Monica Godoy, out of Colombia. She and another lady in the Apex community, Jackie McElroy, they formed the Women in Apex group, and they just had a webinar, I think, earlier this week. I'm not allowed to participate in it, but if you're a woman and want to reach out to other women in the Apex community, you can go to womeninapex.com. In October of last year, Oracle released the free version of the Oracle database called XE. The Linux version was released in October, and we released the Windows version I think in January of this year, but it's certainly out now on Windows as well. And this is the free version of the Oracle database. So it's free to build, free to develop, free to deploy. And there are many customers who have built solutions that they distribute to their end customers completely free with Apex and XE and Oracle REST Data Services. It's completely free. And the nice thing that I like what Oracle has done here, what we Oracle have done, is in the previous versions of XE, the free version of the database, it was very much constrained, and we excluded a lot of, I would say, enterprise level features. In this version of XE, almost every feature of the Oracle database is included, including multi-tenant, and it is 1,000% free, which I think is great. Earlier this week, is that right? April 7th, David Peake, who's on the line, he worked with the eBusiness Suite product development team, and they authored and released a third version of the white paper, how to integrate Apex and the eBusiness Suite. And if you follow David on Twitter at all, or look at any pictures on Twitter with Apex in it, you'll see that David was at the OAUG Collaborate conference this week, and there is huge interest in using Apex to extend eBusiness Suite. For those who don't know, if you've ever heard of Live SQL, and you go to liveSQL.oracle.com, it is the invention of our Vice President, Michael Hitchwa, to provide on the internet the easiest way for someone to experiment with SQL. And if you go to livesql.oracle.com, you don't even have to sign up for anything. You can look at tutorials, you can start executing and experimenting with SQL live just by going to this site. And the reason I mention it is twofold. One is it's an Apex application that our team wrote. And secondly, we're very proud that this was the launch vehicle that Oracle used to announce Oracle Database 19c in January this year. There's an Apex podcast. So if you've seen these fancy Apex stickers around the world, they emanate from a gentleman, Jürgen Schuster, who's a freelancer out of Munich, Germany. And he also contributes back to the community with a podcast. And if you go to apex.press or scan that QR code there, you'll be taken to this podcast. It's available on iTunes, and you can download it as well. The books keep on rolling out. You'll see here, there's a picture of Christina Cho, who's a development team member on our team. And she's there with SK Chang, who wrote the first ever book, Apex book in Korean. And you'll also see, here's one of Clarisa's books as well, that she's written a number of Apex books for the Spanish-speaking community. And I think I'm almost done here, yeah. And lastly, if you want to know who's doing what in the Apex community, our partner FOEX out of Austria, they conducted a survey last year of who's using what for Apex around the world. And I encourage people to take a look at this. It's a completely independent survey. I think there were between 300 and 400 respondents. And it's fascinating to look at how broadly used Apex is around the globe across countless geographies by small enterprises, large enterprises, for small solutions, large solutions. It's really, the adoption is very, very broad. And I would say overall, the satisfaction of our community is very high. So we have a smashing, enthusiastic community. We like to think one of the most passionate and successful at Oracle, shall I say. And if anybody has any questions, please feel free to ask us on this office hours. And then if you have want to kick the tires or learn more about Apex after this, you can go to apex.oracle.com. And that's it. So.
Excellent. So I will now, Clarisa, it's time to turn on your camera again. And pedir para Clarisa hacer las primeras preguntas. Le pido a Clarisa que haga algunas preguntas para ir empezando, pero no sean tímidos, pregunten, ¿ok? Clarisa? Maybe we should do first, sorry, a quick round of Marc and David, for those of you who don't know who is who. I work in Oracle development, and I'm interested in connecting with Latin America, so that's all I will say for myself. And I like Apex too. So I don't know if the order of the screens is the same for everyone, but I see myself at the top. Then I see David, then I see Joel, then I see Clarisa, and then I see Marc, so you can recognize them when you find them in public. Clarisa, why don't you start asking questions? Empecé a preguntar.
Sorry, Clarisa, you're muted. You have to unmute.
No te oímos.
Ahí está. Lo que pasa es que no me dejaba poner el micrófono activo. ¿Por qué? Bueno, hola a todos. Hello everyone. ¿Me escuchan? ¿Me escuchan?
Sí.
Ok, perfecto. Muy bien. I have some questions for the team. For me, it's a big honor to be here with the expert on Apex. Thank you for the invitation, Cris. I have many questions for the team. The first of the one, I think all the people have the same question, is many companies have their system developed in Oracle Forms and want to update them. What is the recommendation for that? In Spanish will be first, I want to make the question in Spanish. Muchas empresas tienen sus sistemas que están trabajando en Oracle Forms con la base de datos, no conocen Apex, ¿sí? ¿Cuál es su recomendación para poder hacer una actualización de esos sistemas en Apex, de Forms hacia Apex?
Clarisa, hi everyone, my name's David Peake. I'm the product manager for Apex, and I've done a lot of forms over the years. And the best way to answer that is often your forms applications are very large. They've been around for a long time, and it's best to start small. So pick off a small functional area that makes sense to migrate, whether you need net new functionality, whether you need mobile capabilities, or you're building an application for your customers or partners. Start small, get comfortable with Apex. You'll find your forms developers can very easily learn Apex, and then from that, slowly work out the best way to modernize all of your application.
Excellent. Yeah, it's very easy to step or pass to Apex because the background for the Oracle Forms developer have PL SQL. It's very easy, no?
Exactly. Because of the fact that Forms is based on SQL and PL SQL, Forms is a declarative type of development environment. Then I've trained up about 20 Forms developers, and within a few weeks they were starting to really get productive. Within a month or so, they were off and running. So it doesn't take much at all for them to become very good Apex developers.
Perfect.
Sorry, Clarisa, can I add to this? Do you mind? Yeah. There's always this battle. People think, oh my gosh, I shouldn't move from Forms to Apex. I'm going to stick with Forms. That's fine, right? We're not telling people they have to move. There are some people who choose to modernize, but also what another partner recommends is maybe don't even convert, don't even modernize, maybe consider new application development, new small applications with Apex to even get your feet wet. And I think Forms developers will be amazed how productive and how natural they feel in this environment. So it doesn't have to be, we need to move our whole portfolio to Apex. Maybe consider doing one or two new small apps and see if it resonates with your Forms developers.
Yeah, perfect. Good advice. Thank you, Joel. Another question that I have is, de todas las opciones que tiene Apex, primero, I can see it first in Spanish, and then in English. Porque esto es algo que siempre me pregunto. De todas las opciones que Apex tiene en los sistemas de autenticación, ¿cuál es la mejor recomendación que tiene el equipo para poder hacer la autenticación cuando un sistema o una aplicación está ejecutándose en la nube o cuando una aplicación se está ejecutando on-premise. Entonces, of the option that Apex supports in the authentication system, what is the best recommendation for a system running in the cloud or a system or app running in the on-premise?
Sorry, I was on mute. I can take that. I'm Marc Swetz. I'm development manager for Apex. So for running authentication, I'm assuming this is to run the same authentication on the cloud and on-premise. I would probably look into using third-party authentication schemes like social login, whereby you can point to authentication providers such as LinkedIn or Google or Facebook, or something more business-like Okta, and then use the same authentication scheme both on your cloud instances as well as your on-premise instances. And I guess one thing to keep in mind there, if you're using those kind of authentication schemes, you also have to consider authorization. So if you open it up to everybody on, say, LinkedIn or Google, you want to make sure that you maintain a list of authorized users that can log in. But I think that's easiest if you want to share the same authentication for your on-premise and on-cloud applications.
Oh, okay. Okay, thanks. Another question is, ¿cuál es la mejor opción? Si nosotros tenemos en nuestro workspace tenemos varias aplicaciones, ¿es bueno tener una aplicación por workspace o tener varias aplicaciones en un mismo workspace? Entonces, here's my help. Which is the better, have an application per workspace in production or have many applications in their own workspace? For example, say we have a system with 10 models, for example. Each model is one application. Which is better, to have the 10 applications in a single workspace or to have each application in different workspace? I can decide now.
No, I get it just great. So it really depends what you want to share amongst the applications. So if all you want to share is the data, right? Let's say you have one application that might need data from another one. There's no reason for them to be within the same workspace necessarily. Sure, if they're created by the same work group or it's the same people, the same workspace, sure, that's how they may be affiliated. But if you have what you're talking about, let's say 10 associated applications.
Yeah, associate, yeah.
I imagine that you would share many elements across those applications, like list of values, like maybe some templates. And in those cases, it makes sense to combine those in the same workspace, because what you can do is you can have a lot of these shared components shared across the applications themselves. And this is even what we do in the development of Apex itself. So we do the development of Apex internally in one workspace. Apex is, application builders, SQL workshop, team development, all of those. And they're all in the same workspace, but we have an additional application, which we never distribute to customers, that maintains all the shared components. And then the individual apps subscribe to the one master app. So now when we need to change a list of values, for example, we just change it in the one master and publish it out to all of them. So if you have to reuse and you want to create this subscription of shared components, that doesn't work across workspaces. And so you have to do that within the same workspace. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much. It was.
Does that make sense? I mean, but I should also state that different lines of business, different groups, they can coexist in different workspaces, and you don't even have to worry about it. At Oracle, we have an instance of Apex which has 5,000 workspaces, and they're all creating different applications. And sometimes people say, "Oh, I need data from an app in this other workspace." They could either share it by database grants against the objects within the same database, or provide a REST interface, and then people can share their access that way as well.
Okay, thank you so much. I don't know Oh, okay. This question, many people ask me frequently. What is the best recommendation to control versioning in Apex? What is the best recommendation to control versioning in Apex?
Pero ahora en español.
Ah, ok, sí, me olvidé. ¿Cuál es la mejor recomendación para controlar el versionamiento de Apex? Porque eso es lo que me hacen unas preguntas muy frecuentemente.
So when it comes to managing the version of Apex, we actually have a white paper out there. So if you go to apex.oracle.com and then under Learn and Additional Resources, you'll see that white paper. But many people that are coming from a file-based type of development, such as Java and what have you, or JavaScript, then they're very used to checking out a file, working on that file, and then checking it back in. With Apex, we have a shared development environment. So instead of checking an application out to work on it, instead you go into the development environment. But as soon as you finish development, then it's much like with a file-based system. You can export that application, and then you can put that into your source control system. And that's, in fact, what we do with our own applications. So on a nightly basis, we actually export all of our applications. We put them into source control. We have automated jobs, Hudson jobs that go through and do regression tests and what have you to make sure that we haven't broken any of our underlying PL SQL. When it comes to the PL SQL, the JavaScript, CSS libraries, they're all managed much like any other file-based components that you have. So we check all of those in, check them out to work on them, etc. So, people often confuse the fact that just because you're developing in a shared environment, you can't do source control. You can, it's just different from what people are potentially used to.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. And I'd like to add that we still do recognize that this is a gap. It's what people expect, and it's difficult to accomplish. And we are working, we're going to iterate towards some type of better change management, better change control, and the holy grail. I'd like to see us develop some type of Git integration for Apex. And so I recently hired a gentleman on my team to attack this problem. It's not going to be solved overnight, but we are going to iterate towards this, and we should have some improvement in this area in Apex 19.2, and we expect something every release after that as well. Okay?
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
I like to interrupt for a minute to make a comment. This is Chris. Sorry, I didn't turn my video on. So, just to point out to the people in the audience that the last two comments from Joel are the kind of things that give the reason for being, the raison d'etre for this kind of office hours. If you notice, he explained in passing how we maintain, how the Apex team maintains a number of common components. When he said we have an application that we don't distribute and we change things at that application, and the other applications subscribe to it. And then he just mentioned, in complementing David's answer, that we understand that some of this functionality is lacking and we are working on it. This is the kind of thing that you only hear from people who work on the product, and this is the kind of thing that allows you to understand how we think about the product, why we do the things that we do, and what you can expect. So I just wanted to point that out because I want to encourage people to, I know Clarisa already knows this, but I want to encourage other people to ask questions. Lo que dije brevemente, si no quedó claro, es que la razón de ser de estas horas de oficina es justamente oír comentarios como los que hizo Joel en las últimas dos intervenciones, comentarios sobre cómo es el funcionamiento interno del equipo de desarrollo, cómo pensamos los problemas, y los comentarios directos y sin ambajes y sin ambigüedades sobre las cosas que sabemos que no están hechas o que no están completas o que hay que hacer. Somente para dizer, se não ficasse claro nas duas versões em inglês e português, que o motivo dessas office hours é exatamente ouvir comentários como os comentários que o Joel já acabou de fazer, que são comentários que dão uma visão dentro da equipe de desenvolvimento com honestidade técnica. É só isso. Sorry, that's all I had to say.
Okay. Thank you, Cris. Gracias, Cris, por la aclaración. I have another question. Primero tengo otra pregunta. Busco para compartir con la comunidad información sobre las grillas interactivas, más información en profundidad, cómo nosotros podemos manipular las grillas, y no hay mucha información. Me gustaría saber dónde podemos nosotros tomar más información sobre las grillas interactivas. Entonces, where we can obtain more in deep information about the grid interactive grid.
I can take that. I would highly recommend John Snyder's blog to read more about the interactive grid, and he has a interactive grid sample application, his interactive grid cookbook application. I'm just going to look up that URL here real quick. I'm going to put it into chat, but that really spells out all the details about interactive grids, how you can customize them, how you can make them work for you. And then also with Apex 19.1, we updated our JavaScript documentation for interactive grids. So if you are running your own JavaScript for interactive grids, you'll find a lot more up-to-date information in there as well. And then lastly, also take a look at interactive grids and our documentation for 19.1. We also extended the number of declarative attributes that you can use, meaning you have to do less with JavaScript. If you want to do more declaratively, there are more options there now. But again, I highly recommend the Interactive Grid Cookbook, and I'll put the link into the Slack channel, the chat channel for this.
Yeah, sorry, Mark, I just did.
Okay, cool, thanks.
I'm not trying to steal your thunder.
Awesome, thank you.
Sí, great job for the cookbook. It's amazing. Yeah, I see the cookbook. Thank you so much for that application. Okay, next question. Yo el otro día estuve haciendo una aplicación y me planteé la siguiente pregunta. Si yo tengo una aplicación de escritorio y quiero tener también la versión mobile, ¿debo hacer las páginas dentro de la misma aplicación o debo hacer una aplicación independiente a la del desktop, utilizando lógicamente el tema universal? Entonces, if I have the desktop application and I want to get the mobile version, I need to do the same application or I need to do the new application? What is the best recommendation for you?
All right, well, I guess short answer first, I would go with the same application. And the reasoning is we used to have a mobile user interface and a mobile theme based on jQuery Mobile, which we no longer include. There are a number of reasons for it. That particular library is no longer actively developed, but more importantly, we put a lot of effort into our universal theme over the last 2 or 3 releases to make the universal theme more mobile friendly. It is fully responsive, and we enhanced many of our components to be responsive, to be touch friendly, to respond to swiping and touching like what you do on your phone. So I would definitely recommend using the same application and making that work for both desktops and mobile. I would also recommend to always keep the mobile use case in mind. So don't overload your pages. Keep your forms short and your reports simple. Benefits both mobile and desktop users. And then lastly, when you look at Apex 18.1 and 18.2 and above, there's a new menu, navigation menu option. You know how you can have like a navigation menu on the left. You can have one on the top. And with more recent versions of the universal theme, you can now have like a navigation menu that looks like tabs and that behaves differently based on screen size and device use. So on a desktop screen, you would see it on top with lengthy labels, whereas if you're running it on a smaller screen or mobile device, the menu would show up at the bottom of your screen, easy to reach with your thumb, and it would only show icons. So I guess back to my short answer, definitely go with just a single application.
Okay, thank you so much. Ya, quería aclarar algo en español. En las aplicaciones que Apex tiene dentro del Workspace hay una aplicación de ejemplo que utiliza las dos versiones en la misma aplicación por si la quieren revisar.
Okay, I think we have a question on the chat. I'm trying to find it because it's close away from me.
That's from Galaxy J7 2016. I don't quite understand it, but maybe you want to ask him if he wants to present it in Spanish and you understand. Would you want to do that?
Galaxy J7, Galaxy J7, estás en vivo con el audio conectado. You are live.
¿Escuchan? Hola.
Hola, hola.
Hola, ¿cómo están? Mi nombre es José Preda, soy de San Luis, Argentina. ¿Cómo están?
Muy bien.
Hola. ¿Qué tal?
¿Qué tal, Clarisa? ¿Cómo estás?
Bien, bien.
Bueno, les comento, nosotros tenemos una experiencia con Apex de hace muchos años, desde el 2008 que estamos con Apex, y estamos teniendo muchos productos ya generados. Nos gustaría convencer a más clientes de utilizar los productos con Apex, pero estamos notando también que hay mucha competencia, digamos, de productos de otro tipo de tecnologías. Lo que estamos buscando es la manera de convencer a nuestros clientes a que se muden a Apex, en lugar de, por ejemplo, algún paradigma en PHP. Entonces, si nos pueden dar algunos tips así para poder empujarlo un poquito más, la verdad estaríamos encantados.
Muy bien. Okay, guys. I wrote the question in English there in the chat for everyone. So I think you get the gist. They use Apex. They like it. They got a lot of work with Apex, but they would like you to offer some ideas on how to persuade customers to move more stuff to Apex instead of using other frameworks and paradigms.
Oh, can I answer this, David? Do you mind?
I'll leave it. I'll let you go first, Joel.
All right, thanks. So that, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, we don't want to be anti-open source or anti-PHP, right? But when you look at PHP, it is coding, and Apex is low coding. And usually, rather than pitch a technology of, well, I can do this in PHP versus Apex, I would often present it as a solution, right? You can deliver so much more faster using Apex and with higher, quality and easier to maintain than probably what someone what it would take them to code in PHP, for example. A couple other things I want to say is I came across just a great example of this just in the past week, where this was actually for some sound studio in Slovenia, right? There's like 20 users of this application, and this partner took their PHP application and moved it to Apex on XE, right? And they were able to, it was much more resilient, there was less code to maintain, and they were able to add much more functionality to their app than what it would have taken to do the equivalent in coding. And the other thing I'll tell you is if you ever come across situations where you're talking to a customer and you want to get us involved or help you, or just try to present a very honest case-by-case basis, contact one of us and we'll gladly get on a webinar with you or your customer and help. And if they say, hey, listen, our long-term strategic direction is PHP, great, right? We won't try to convince them of anything. But if you want our help at any time, let us know. And just so you know, I'm also trying to hire someone in South America who could help you as well. So hopefully that provides some guidance. Sorry that I'm so long-winded here.
I'd just like to quickly add, I think some of the other key benefits of Apex is the built-in capabilities. So all the security that we've got built in, the database interactions, the session state management, instead of having to code for all of that, instead you just utilize it. And I think that's really one of the big differences between a tool such as Apex, where you can do so much without having to worry about the, low-level interactions and what have you, because we give you all that to you out of the box. And I think that's really one of the key things that stands it apart.
¿Necesitas alguna aclaración? ¿Te queda claro lo que dicen? ¿Quieres que lo traduzcamos? ¿Tienes comentarios?
Yeah, now just realize that you did mute Galaxy J7 2016 though, right?
Hola, ¿me escuchan?
Sí.
Sí, bueno, sí, me queda clarísimo. O sea, enfocarnos en la productividad y obviamente en la entrega rápida de aplicaciones y de código es claro que es una de las ventajas más importantes de Apex. Eso para nosotros es claro porque ha sido clave en todos nuestros clientes. Así que bueno, muchísimas gracias por la contestación.
Aproveito para traduzir uma parte importante da mensagem do Joel. O Joel disse que o time dele está procurando contratar alguém em Sudamérica para dar apoio à comunidade de Apex, e também disse antes que se tiverem necessidade, se precisarem de ajuda, por exemplo, com um webinar para falar para os clientes seus, a equipe de Apex faz isso, então é só contatar ele. Por si não quedou claro, Joel ofreció ayuda en general para conversar con ustedes y presentar un webinar, por ejemplo, si hace falta para explicar las ventajas de Apex a los clientes. Y además dijo que está buscando tener una persona permanente en Sudamérica para ser parte de ese trabajo. I just basically translated the gist of your broad offering, Joel, of your team's offer to help, and the fact that you are looking to get someone to do that in South America. I'm very, very grateful to Clarisa for all the questions, and I know she has more, but since someone broke the silence, I would like to see if anybody else has questions. So, for example, Mariano, you have a question on the chat in English. Maybe you guys can answer the question from Mariano Mangiafico, and then if he can come back and tell us if he has something more to say.
Yeah, so on the interactive grid question, if there's any plans to make it more flexible, not exactly sure what you're looking for, but interactive grid are constantly being enhanced and improved. Just in this most recent release, 19.1, we added the additional declarative options that I mentioned. We are also now working on extending interactive grids to support REST APIs, web sources, and REST-enabled SQL. And there are always plans to improve it, enhance it, make the JavaScript doc better, add additional features. I know there are difficulties with some of the formatting, especially if you want to use it as a reporting component. So we are constantly working on improving and enhancing. David, anything you'd like to add to that?
No, for me, I think, the fact that we're adding more declarative capabilities is very important. And much like when we introduced interactive reports, we're constantly working on resolving bugs and making it a stronger, component within Apex. So, every release we're doing more improvements with interactive grid, and it's only going to keep getting better.
Sounds good.
Mariano, comentarios, preguntas. Sorry, you wrote in English. So any questions or follow-up comments? I did unmute Mariano, so I don't know.
Oh, okay. But I was muted from here, so my apologies. Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you for the session. I think it's very useful. And my question was directed to a few things. First of all, allowing dynamic PL SQL source for the interactive grid and pivot queries, those two things. And the third one would be client-side, more complex client-side validations, like checking records between each other without having to go to write JavaScript code using the cookbook. I faced a very simple thing for a project where I had let's say a list of emails, right? People entered one email per row, and I had to just verify if the grid had duplicates, right? And I couldn't do that using any of the features in the that are present in Apex. I had to go to JavaScript. That's why I'm asking. So that was my question.
Right. So on the validations, there's nothing specifically planned. I think that falls into the constant improvements category. We're always looking at making that easier, improving it. Some enhancements in that area. For example, we know that if you have like aggregates and sums in your report, it's currently somewhat difficult to kind of keep them up to date and sync as you make changes. So those are changes that we are working on. There was your first point. Sorry, I forgot what that was, but
SQL.
Allowing
the dynamic SQL, yeah, sorry. So with our change of interactive grids to use like all the same data sources that you can use for classic reports and interactive reports, that means that you will be able to use a function returning query to get the query back. But what we're not supporting is like a dynamic number of columns. So your number of columns need to match, but you will be able to use a function returning SQL query.
In a future release?
Yeah, for 19.2 and in the future.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much.
Sure.
That's all. I don't know if you want to continue. Thank you.
Excellent. Let's see if we have other questions here in the chat. Otherwise, it's back to you, Clarisa. Dale nomás.
Okay. Oh. Okay, let me see my list of questions. It's so long, but this question is very interesting. If an application uses RESTful services, what security consideration should we consider? Si nosotros tenemos una aplicación que utiliza RESTful services, ¿qué consideraciones de seguridad necesitamos tener en cuenta?
I think using REST web service in which way, right? You could consume web services and you could publish out web services using REST Workshop. To stick with the consuming part first, like you connect to like a web source or REST-enabled SQL, you want to make sure that, well, I guess depending on the source you're connecting to, you want to provide authentication. Many REST APIs require you to authenticate, so as you create your web source, you will have to provide either the authentication, be it OAuth or something else. Many REST APIs also have like these code keys that you can provide along with your web source definition. So depending on what web source you're connecting to, there are different ways to provide authentication. If you're connecting to, say, REST-enabled SQL, then you're providing the authentication to that service. And if you're talking about publishing out REST APIs through REST Workshop, there have been a few changes going in 19.1. But same applies to previous versions as well. So if you expose a table or PL/SQL procedure or function as a REST API, you should protect it. You should require authentication for other services to connect to that. And that's certainly possible. And in Apex 19.1, we added a new function in the object browser where you can REST enable your tables and your database objects. And right there you can require authentication and assign it to a authorization role. So I guess my point is, if you're publishing out your data and your objects, make sure you protect them and don't keep them wide open.
Okay, thanks, Mark. Where we can get more information about that?
To get more information about
the web services authentication or security with REST web services. The Oracle website. The
we do have on blogs.oracle.com/apex. Karsten Zarski on our team has written a number of blog posts that describe this functionality, not only integration with RESTful services, but how you set up and manage the web credentials and the like, and how you could connect to a OAuth 2 or OpenID provider. So it's there. And if you find it lacking, let us know and we can add more.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Okay, Chris.
Your timing was perfect.
Yeah.
So do you have any more questions for us, Clarisa, that you'd like to ask?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I have questions.
Go on. We have time. I don't see.
Okay.
I was muted. Sorry. I don't see any. I don't see further questions here on the chat. So I think Clarisa can continue, right?
Yeah. This is a common question, but I like to hear the answer. An application in Apex can be scalable or not? Huh?
So can you repeat that?
Scalable. I'm sorry, scalable.
It's all right. I've got an accent, Clarisa.
Can I answer this, please? Yeah. Yes.
It's good not to know.
Yeah. So you want the answer? So a couple things. I wrote a blog post on my personal blog about this situation. Everybody wants a magic formula, right? Of can it support 1,000 users? Can it support 10,000 users? Can it support 100,000 users? And what does that even mean? Does that mean 100,000 users over an hour or 100,000 users hitting the enter key at exactly the same time? At the end of the day, the scalability and the performance of an Apex application are determined exactly by you. So everything you add into the application will control whether your application can scale, whether it's fast or not. In terms of scalable applications, there's a recent partner in the UK who wrote an Apex application in front of the e-business suite for 200,000 users, and it's faster and puts less load on the server than their previous implementation. So can people build scalable, very fast applications for hundreds of thousands of users? Absolutely. Can people build applications with crappy SQL that are slow for 10 users? Absolutely. No different than any other.
Search the web on Apple Watch.
Sorry, my watch thinks I'm talking to her. Just like you can build a slow application in any technology.
Excellent. And what is the...
Hold on. Is that the follow-up or a new question? ¿Es una pregunta nueva o es continuación?
Ya, es nueva. It's new.
Entonces, then you have to wait because I have someone who wants to ask a question other than you. Sorry about that. Perdóname. Muy bien, adelante.
No, what is the...
No. Tenemos una pregunta en el...
Okay. I'm sorry.
Hola, aquí.
Okay.
Hear me?
Hi, Ivo. How are you doing?
Hey, Joel. Thanks for
No se oye bien, se oye muy lejos.
Let me see. Now,
Parece que no. This is too funny. Ok. Vas a tener que preguntar, ¿por qué no reconectamos o preguntas en el chat y porque no se te oye nada?
okay.
Okay, Clarisa, I don't know what you are doing, but he cannot talk. Apparently, you have deprived him of the ability to speak. Bueno,
Okay.
Hacemos la pregunta de Clarisa y luego volvemos a Ivo, ¿ok? Dale.
Okay. What is the limitation to use Oracle Database Express with Apex and use another edition, the Oracle database? What is the limitation that we have?
¿En español?
¿Cuál es la limitación de usar una base de datos Express Edition con Apex en vez de utilizar, lógicamente, las otras ediciones? Porque generalmente en Latinoamérica siempre empezamos usando la Express Edition, pero ¿hasta dónde podemos usar esa edición para después tener que saltar a las otras ediciones?
I can try. I mean, this is really just about XE itself, the database, not really Apex, right?
Yeah, it's for use Apex in the database.
Yeah. So Apex runs perfectly everywhere there's an Oracle database. There are constraints on the free version of the Oracle database. So I think it is constrained by total size. I think it's maybe 12 gigabytes of storage. I think you're limited in the number of CPUs you can use and also the amount of physical memory it can address. I don't know what it is, 1 gigabyte, 2 gigabytes, something like that. But the application that you build on XE, you can also, take it. Let's say you outgrow XE, you can move it to the cloud. You can move it to another Oracle database. It doesn't matter. It is amazing. You might think, oh, I have all these constraints about using XE. I've seen customers deploy hospital management systems on XE for their hospital. I've seen customers deploy that music studio. Their whole back office system was done in XE. I've seen another customer, a retailer in the Netherlands, on their point of sale systems, they run Apex on XE. So it's really, you say 12 gigabytes, what can I do in that? You can do a lot of relational database in 12 gigabytes, right?
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Okay, so now we have a question from Ivo in the chat. I let the experts look at it and answer it. Tenemos una pregunta en el chat que voy a dejar que respondan los expertos.
David, that's you.
So I'll unmute myself. I was just reading the question. So within Apex itself, we have the forms migration capabilities. From that, when you create a project, you can no longer generate out any Apex applications from the forms modules that you upload. Basically, you can take a forms module, menu, object libraries, etc., run it through the forms to XML utility, which will create XML files, which you can then upload. The key reason for doing that is actually so that you can annotate any of the business logic. So rather than having to find all of the triggers, the form level triggers, block level triggers, item level triggers, etc., and working out which ones are important, by uploading those XML files, and then you can actually see it all in one place. You can see all of your different triggers. So yes, that one's important. No, that one's not. And make sure that you don't miss any of your important business logic. We removed the generation capability specifically because of the fact that it didn't generate out very good applications. And you're much better to use our Create Application Wizard based on, the same tables and views and what have you, and create an application from scratch. So we still do have the project. It's still very good for making sure you don't lose business logic, but we no longer allow you to generate. So hopefully that answered your question, Ivo.
Yeah, I mean, Ivo, it was honestly easier for you just to take the SQL query and create the app yourself, because what we generated was kind of garbage anyways, and it's easier for you to just create it from scratch.
Another brutally honest answer from Joel. That's the kind we like. Muy bien. Out of respect, especially for you guys, I think, David, you are at the conference, and you all have been very generous. We are past our time. I am extraordinarily happy that we are past our time. This is a great success. But I think we should wind this down. I will make a short announcement, and then I will let you guys have the last word. You can ask your questions at the office hours, and they will get forwarded to us. You also can, of course, go to the regular Apex office hours and ask questions there, but you can ask questions about this particular session at the office hours, so that they can be processed asynchronously later. Pode continuar as perguntas depois do fim da sessão, simplesmente na página das office hours, e as perguntas vão ser enviadas aos expertos. Pueden entonces, como decía, continuar las preguntas en la página de las office hours y van a llegar a los expertos que las responderán en forma asíncrona. Vamos a poner además las páginas que indicaron los expertos. We'll also add the URLs that appear in the chat on the page. With that, I'm going to turn my video off, but stay online, and let you all say the last few things you might feel appropriate to say, especially because the Apex experts are experts at this kind of format more than I am, so I don't want to detract from their contribution there. It's been great. Thank you all. Thank you especially, Clarisa. Muchas gracias por todas tus preguntas. And hasta la próxima. I'm online, but I'm hiding now.
Okay, I'll just state one thing. Firstly, Cris, thanks for offering to host us, and Clarisa, thanks as well for your participation here. You're the rock star here, right? You're the prolific author. To our friends in Latin America and Iberia, I will tell you that Apex at Oracle is coming to Autonomous Database. Autonomous Database is something that the company and the sales folks at Oracle are very keenly interested in. So even if you don't even care about cloud, that's fine. Just understand that we as a community, we probably have 400,000 developers worldwide with Oracle sales and nobody from Oracle ever talking about Apex, right? So we've grown this big with no help from Oracle. And now you're going to see things change. And so what I've told Philo, what I've told Ivo, the Apex tsunami is coming. We've gone from nobody at Oracle other than us talking about Apex to 20,000 people talking about Apex. And we're growing in South America as well. So all I can say is fasten your seatbelt, baby. All right, thanks for having us. David?
Thank you, Joel. So I just want to thank everyone for attending today. I think it's been a great session. If the one thing you remember to take away is the URL, apex.oracle.com, but also understand that, Apex, the good thing about Apex is the community. So don't be afraid to reach out to others in the community and, start a conversation, and you'll find that everyone in the Apex community just loves to talk to other Apex developers. Marc?
Yeah, thanks, David, and thanks everybody for participating, and thanks, Cris, for organizing. I think that was great. And just as the last point, Apex 19.1 is out now, came out about a week and a half ago. So many of the things that were asked for today are going to be in this release. So go to apexoracle.com or OTN page and download our latest release.
Clarisa. Unmute.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. And estoy feliz de poder haber participado de este tiempo con todo el team de Apex. Es amazing. I would like to repeat this webinar another time, okay? I love that. Thank you.
That can be arranged. Okay. Continuamos en la página y en las otras office hours. Muchas gracias, muito obrigado a todo o pessoal, muito obrigado aos nossos expertos técnicos. Gracias a todos. Thank you, everyone. I think we can close here, and thanks for staying over time.
Thank you. Have a good one. Bye-bye.